This show is brought to you in part by viewers like you who joined a Patreon or become YouTube members. Thank you. And if you could, hit the like button and subscribe if you want more Browns-focused content.
It looks very possible that the Cleveland Browns could be on, yet again, another head coaching search. And when it comes to these kind of things, right, a head coaching search, because so many people have so many opinions about the head coach over the course of the last 5 years, people kind of get really fixated on the result, the name associated with whoever you bring in to replace the head coach or who you're looking at. Oftentimes you'll get people to say in defense of the guy that they want to keep, well, who else are you going to hire? And I get why people do that, right? The names are what we focus on. We're kind of trained as football fans to focus on the results side of things. But I want to focus on what I think is more important for getting this hire right, and that's the process side of this. See, no matter what the Browns do, if they fire Kevin, if they keep Kevin, if they hire somebody to replace Kevin, if they hire somebody internally to replace Kevin, I think if the process isn't sound behind whatever decision they make, then whatever decision they end up making will be doomed. And I think that's the underlying layer behind why the Browns continue to be in the same kind of situations over and over again, is that this team has never really done a good job of addressing its processes for the decisions that they make. And I think it's no more glaring than when you look at the history of how this team has handled head coaching hires specifically. So what I want to do in this video is focus on that, focus on the process of hiring a new coach and what I feel like the team should avoid at all cost when it comes to going into this process, regardless of what the result could be, right? You could keep Kevin and have a good process behind it potentially. You can fire Kevin and have a good process behind it. You can fire Kevin and replace him internally and have a good process behind it. But there has to be a good process behind it. So we're going to discuss that in detail in just a second. But let me thank my sponsor, Sleeper, first. Real quick, just want to let you guys know Sleeper has a new offer here. They're offering a free $20 entry, no deposit required. And also, if you're a first-time user, you also will receive a 100% match on up to $100 when you use the promo code WORSTTAKE. Again, $20 free, no deposit required. Plus, first-time users also receive a 100% deposit match up to $100. Join Sleeper. So what I want to talk about here is Kevin Stefanski, whether he should stay or go. Now, look, everybody has their own opinion. Every time I talk about this, there are, well thought out soliloquies, my bad, in the comment section, defending Kevin and putting other people in the organization under the bus. There are people who don't defend Kevin and want Kevin gone, right? There's a lot of range of opinions that you can get here. My whole thing is this has to be process oriented, right? Whether you keep Kevin, whether you don't, it can't feel like a knee-jerk reaction. It has to feel like a decision that was made for a reason. And the reason that's important is simple to me. When you fire somebody for no good reason, it makes it real hard to know what you're looking for in who you're hiring, right? When you fire somebody and you don't have a good reason for why you're firing that person, you just are mad and you pick this person and you decided to fire this person. Hiring the replacement makes it difficult because it's hard to know what exactly you're trying to replace with the person that you're bringing in. But if you fire somebody for a specific reason, then it's real easy to understand what you're bringing somebody in to be able to do, right? If you're just firing Kevin because you're frustrated That's not a good idea. But if you're firing Kevin because you have specific gripes that you don't feel like he could solve, then do it, right? If the reason for firing Kevin is you're not satisfied with his attempts to evolve the offense, you're not satisfied with the state of the run game for the last 3 years, you're not satisfied with the work that Kevin has done as an architect of his offenses over the year, regardless of what pieces he did or did not have. We're talking about the technical work here, which I do think has been legitimately unsatisfactory. Even when he's had good pieces, the technical work behind it has been a little bit questionable. There was a time where he was ahead of the curve and he was doing things at a rate that was pretty impressive, but things have seemingly stalled out after 2021 and he hasn't quite hit that peak. And it's been about enough time to where you should be concerned about his ability to hit that peak again, regardless of what you think of the talent currently on the roster. There's also the question of development. Has Kevin Stefanski done a good enough job of developing the roster or not? You got to figure out why it is. But if you have a specific reason that you're firing Kevin, it makes your search a lot easier because now you know what you're looking for. If you fire Kevin because the offensive creation has not been great, because the architects of the, well, not the architects, but the architecture of the offense, the construction of it has not been satisfactory, then you know what to look for in his replacement, somebody who can be a satisfactory level architect of the offense. It makes it really, really simple, right? If I get fired because I'm being late to work all the time and that's causing a lot of issues, then you know to hire somebody who's super punctual. Specific reasons get specific results here is what I'm going with. And too many times in Cleveland Browns history have we fired a coach just to fucking do it. I'm just gonna be honest here, right? Love this team. Watch this team my entire life. We have a bad habit, regardless of who's the owner. I've seen it with 3 different owners. I've seen it with multiple different team vice presidents and presidents and different gimmicks that we've had running the fucking team. There has been one constant, which is they will fire a coach just to fire a coach because they think it'll make the fan base happy. They think it'll recharge the locker room. Some kind of non-tangible bullshit reason for firing a coach, not anything super specific. And when they do that, what they end up hiring is somebody that they think will get people excited. And that ends up usually being a mistake, right? I, for one, have lived through enough head coaching searches to be over the gimmicks. I don't want any of the gimmicks. I don't want the Jimmy Sexton search firm. I don't want the expensive, semi-retired, washed coach that everybody's gonna think is gonna bring back the glory days because he was good in like 2003. I don't want people to fall in love with this ideal of getting a cult of personality that's gonna yell and break things and kick things over and sprinkle magic dust in the locker room and create a culture, right? All that gimmicky bullshit I have seen the Browns chase after my entire life. And it just results in the Browns making poor decision after poor decision after poor decision after poor decision. And the reason they're poor decisions is because these aren't process-focused decisions. These are decisions made because they're angry or because they're frustrated or because they think that this will make them less frustrated or this and that. It's never a productive decision to fire somebody, and that certainly can happen. You can make a productive, coherent, functional decision as an organization to fire somebody. The Philadelphia Eagles have fucking mastered this idea by the way, right? They fired Andy Reid out of frustration. That was a mistake. Then they brought in Chip Kelly because they didn't know what the fuck they were looking for. And then they fired Chip Kelly because of the things that they didn't like about Chip Kelly. They got real specific in what they were looking for. They found Doug Peterson. Doug Peterson works out for a while. They win a Super Bowl with Doug Peterson. And then they decide they don't like some of the things going on with Doug Peterson. They fire him for a very specific reason. They bring in the next guy for a very specific reason, and they win a Super Bowl with that guy. Process, focus, decisions. Not making decisions out of anger. Not making a decision. Let me clarify that because that could have been confusing. Not deciding to not make a decision because you don't want to appear as a toxic organization, right? Because if you decided to keep Kevin, but you got no real reason to keep Kevin other than continuity is nice, then you're doing the same toxic thing just in a different direction. Like, you guys understand, for everybody who just wants to keep Kevin because they want to keep continuity in place, but they don't have a real good reason to believe that bringing back Kevin's going to actually make the football team better, that suggestion is also toxic because you're suggesting that the Browns do something just to do it. And when they're doing stuff just to do it, it leads to bad results, right? Bringing back Hugh Jackson because you think he deserves an extra year, not because of his work, but because we put him in a bad spot and we feel bad for Hugh Jackson. Well, we felt so bad for Hugh Jackson that we ended up firing him in the middle of the year anyways. You got to do stuff for a reason. If you're going to fire Kevin, you got to be specific about why it is that you're firing Kevin, and you have to use that specificness to inform your hiring process. If the Browns do that, they'll be fine. I truly believe it, right? If the Browns do that, and that's why they focus on the decision, they'll be fine. I truly believe that that kind of process-oriented decision led to Kevin Stefanski. And look, Kevin's not an amazing Hall of Fame coach, but Kevin's certainly the best hire they've made since 1999. So I think following that template is the way to go. And let's look back at the offseason that you hired Kevin. The job for the Cleveland Browns wasn't an attractive job. It wasn't a deep pool of offensive coordinator candidates, but you went through your process. You said to yourself, we're firing Kevin. We're not firing Kevin, but we're firing Freddie Kitchens because we believe him to be dysfunctional and not good at the offensive stuff. And we want somebody that can operate within our structure and be functional, right? You had a specific reason for firing Freddie Kitchens. And then that led to a specific reason to bring in Kevin, and it worked out. Got a guy who won 2 Coach of the Years. Now, it didn't ultimately take you to a Super Bowl. It wasn't the ultimate version of working out. You are on the verge of letting Kevin go for some other specific reasons, but a functional process led to a functional result at head coach. The one thing you cannot say about Kevin is that he's dysfunctional. That's the one thing you cannot say about him, right? There's a lot of criticisms that can be had about Kevin and him as an offensive genius. It's not really there, right? But the man's functional, right? The man's been functional through a lot of dysfunction he's had to deal with. A lot of people would have handled these last 5 years a lot worse than Kevin Stefanski. So, it led to a functional decision. I don't think you got extra lucky there. I don't think you landed on some magic to find Kevin in 2020. I think it just was a process-focused decision that was focused on why you were letting the last guy go. And you made a decision, you trust your process, and it led to a good hire. That can happen again. I think that's the process to follow. Have a specific reason for why you're letting Kevin go. And just make that what the hiring process is about. A lot of times, right, there's this great phrase, I think Bill Belichick, ironically enough, is the one who coined it. Or maybe it's like Bill Walsh or Bill Parcells. It feels like a Bill Parcells thing. But there's a great quote out there amongst head coaches where football is a simple game made very complicated by very stupid men, right? And the apex of this philosophy is NFL head coaches searches, because So often a team gets caught up trying to hire more than a head coach during a head coach hire. And what I mean by that is that a team is trying to accomplish more than simply hiring a head coach when they go out to hire a head coach, right? They're looking for traits to be wild and floored, and they want somebody who's going to reinvigorate the entire fan base, or they want to put a spark to the team, or some kind of gimmicky marketing bullshit that they're trying to add to the team other than just get somebody who can coach. That's how this gets funky all the time, is when teams try to get all this other stuff instead of focusing on somebody who can simply coach, right? This is why there's so many bad head coaching hires, so many disastrous head coaching hires, and why so many of those hires have happened in Cleveland, because countless times I've seen team presidents, owners, different owners of the team, different people in leadership, general managers try to put their mark on the team with a head coaching hire instead of just hiring a good coach. Again, if you keep the focus and the process in front of the head coaching hire and you're focusing on hiring a coach, a good coach, it's not going to be that difficult. When you're trying to knock out other things other than just hiring a coach, right? When you're trying to change the culture with a hire, when you're trying to reinvigorate the fan base with a hire, when you're trying to excite the entire city with a hire, that's how you end up fucking up. Because now you're searching for something that's beyond the scope of the position. But if you keep it simple and you just look to go hire a good coach, that's how you end up with Sean McVay. That's how you end up with Matt LaFleur. That's how you end up with Kevin O'Connell. That's how you end up with all these good coaches that you see around the league that you really didn't hear jack shit about before they got the job. Sean McVay's another one, right? Sean McDermott, another one that the Browns almost hired, but they went for the glitz and glamour and the style of Hugh Jackson over Sean McDermott because they thought that Hugh Jackson was going to bring more oomph to the position. You see what I mean? Just keep it simple. Don't let it be about gimmicks. Don't let it be about anything other than who's the best coach. This happened with the Miami Dolphins when Mike Tomlin was interviewing with the Miami Dolphins, and they didn't want to hire Mike Tomlin because they thought he was too hip-hop, and we know what that's code for. They didn't keep it about who the best coach was. They kept it about what they had an idea of a coach being. Right? They think they hired Joe Philbin instead of Mike Tomlin or something ridiculous like that, or maybe it was another retired or another old coach or something like that, right? They went for an excite the fan base hire instead of just hiring the best coach. It's really not that difficult. Please don't make it difficult. That's my thoughts. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Y'all have a great day. Have an even better night. Peace.